Hi everyone. So in this video today I'm going to talk about the Polestar website and some of the changes that have happened over the last few days. A little bit while ago, if you've been following Polestar or you're looking at buying one, you might have noticed that they stopped taking orders of cars on the website other than those that were pre-configured and available. And that was basically to prepare for the release of the next models of cars that have now become available. So when Polestar launched the Polestar 2, it was basically one single car. There was very little options you could choose. You could change the interior a little bit. Performance pack was one thing, but you couldn't really change the drivetrain and the battery options. Now, when you go onto the Polestar website, you will now see that you can choose from 3 different models that will give you different power outputs and also slight differences in range, which is really nice to see. It's basically made Polestar a little bit more flexible. So it also introduces the lowest price model, which is now £10,000 cheaper than the previous one. And it lets you customize the car more to your needs by adding extra packs that give you some of the features that were found on the original car, and also the addition of a heat pump for better efficiency with heating of the car inside and also better consumption of the battery. So yeah, let's have a look. I'm going to go through the website and have a look at some of the options and how the prices compare with what was available previously on the Polestar website. So I want to try and keep this video fairly short and to the point and just go through some of the things that are available now when you try and order a Polestar. So these are actually really good things that they have done on here. If you go onto the Polestar website, you can now choose from 3 different spec cars as the base option for delivery from September this year. The entry-level standard range single motor is a car now available for $39,900, which is basically £10,000 less than the Polestar was costing just a couple of months ago. Now, the government grant did knock that down to closer to, I think, £46,000, £47,000, but that was recently withdrawn for cars like this, so it bumped the price up to nearly £50,000. Now, the release of this car basically means you can get a Polestar for £10,000 less. And you get the same car, it's still, you know, the same vehicle, but you get just a single range, single motor with the standard range option. Now, the interesting thing to see here is they have chosen a single electric front-wheel drive motor, which I think is actually a really good thing for drivers in the UK and in Europe. I've had a couple of rear-wheel drive cars. There's no doubt they're great fun, but it can be a little bit tricky sometimes in more slippery conditions, and the benefits aren't that great. I think a front-wheel drive car, if you're going to go single motor, is better for most drivers, unless, of course, you have all-wheel drive across the whole thing. So we get a 221 horsepower and 243 pound-foot of torque, and a 64 kilowatt battery, making it a little bit lighter, 0 to 60 in 7 seconds. So that is really good. It's still a good amount of power. 220 horsepower is you know, that is still great for most people's needs. And 420 kilometers. I'm not really sure why they haven't put this in miles on here yet, because most people, I'm on the UK version of the site in pounds. It doesn't seem to be converting it automatically. But 420 works out as a range of 262 miles. Now, I have this long-range dual-motor version, which is essentially what the Polestar was up until this last week. 450, they are claiming a range there of 280 miles. Now, I'm getting around 70% of the claimed range most of the time. So I think it's safe to say that with the standard range single motor, at 70% of that, you are likely to have a range of around 170 to 180 miles in winter, and maybe 190 to, say, 210 in the warmer months. Now, for many people, that's not too bad. That's absolutely fine. But if you want a little bit more range, you have the option of paying £3,000 more for the long-range single motor. And that gives a claimed range of, let's see, 515 divided by 1.6 is going to be about 320. So at 70%, that's 225 miles. So you might get, say, 225 to 240 miles in the warmer months with that particular car, making it a little bit more similar in range to the Tesla Model 3 long range. But performance-wise, it's a lot slower. So it doesn't really compare in that area. But you get 228 horsepower. And this, as a car, for many people will be absolutely fine. But the truth is, how often do you need to floor it and make use of all 400 horsepower? Very rarely. So for many people, that want a Polestar and that want the design, the look, the boot space, and basically the sort of safety and quality of a really high-end car from the Volvo group. A lot of people say, don't call it a Volvo. It's not a Volvo. Yeah, it's not, but there's so many similarities. Look at these headlights. And that is not a bad thing to be compared to a Volvo. They are renowned for their safety, and the quality of the materials is very good and it's well built. So that basically gets you a long-range version of this car for $49,900. But essentially, you can get this car for $39,900, or you can add $3,000 for £43,000. You've got the long-range version, and for £46,000, you have the long-range dual-motor version. And that is really great that you now have the option to choose what kind of performance and what kind of battery you'd like. Now, moving on to the next thing, the reason this price is so high down here is that I have been fiddling around with these packs. So I have added both the Pilot and the Plus pack to this, which is going to bump the performance dual motor car all the way up to $52,900. And in the Pilot pack, you get the pixel LED lights, light sequences, and all of these safety features, which actually are really, really great. These came standard in the car that I got in October last year. And to be honest, if you're going to upgrade anything, this is what I would choose. These are great features. The Plus pack adds a heat pump. Now, this is cool. If you are into, trying to avoid using too much energy and maximizing your range, the heat pump will really help with that, because it's a much more efficient way of heating the interior of the car. And this is what you need to pay to get the fixed panoramic roof, the Harman Kardon sound system, the slightly different seat and interior design, the full electric seats, the heated rear seats, the high-level illumination, the 15-watt inductive charger, and a couple of other things, including tinted rear windows, which I actually don't have. So you get a couple of extras that were not on the car previously, like the heat pump and the rear window tint, but you do now pay $52,900 for that. So it's kind of given people the option. If there's anything I would add, it would probably be this Pilot pack, because for £3,000 I really like these safety features. But again, if it's £3,000 of your own money that you're spending, maybe it isn't right for you. It really depends. But if you're leasing or you've got a company car allowance, then I would highly recommend this upgrade. But if I go all the way back, you can see that now, with it stripped back, $45,900 is what you can pay for the performance of the dual motor car. Now, back when I got this car, the government grant was available, which knocked the price of the car down from $50,000 to basically $47,000-ish, something around that price point. So now you can get the car at that same price, despite the government grant being pulled. But you do sacrifice the fact that you have to pay extra for those packs that came standard. So if you already have a Polestar, I would say, yeah, well done, because you lucked out. I mean, as did I, by being able to get the car at the price that it was available with all of those features and the government grant. But I think I really like the way that Polestar have done this, because they've opened up the car to a wider range. It's not just one fixed vehicle, but it still means you can get that car. You just have to pay for a few different bolt-on features, and you will get that heat pump, which I think is an excellent addition. It will maximize your range, and you also get the rear tinted windows, which will look really good. But I do like the fact that there is now a Polestar available for $39,900. This is going to mean, I think, for a lot of people, if you're leasing the car, that it suddenly drops it down from something that might have been out of your range or not within, say, a company car allowance to something that you can afford. I mean, in my case, I got it on a lease, and I think I'm paying something like £450 plus VAT for an 8,000 mile a year lease over 3 years and a 3-month deposit. But the car got a little bit more expensive when the government grant was pulled. Those lease prices went up. But now hopefully we'll see them drop down again with the $39,900 option. So you have a way of getting into the Polestar for, a little bit less money than you had before. And I think this long range is actually a really good option, because if I was going to get a Polestar now, would I choose this or the dual motor? I'm not really sure. I mean, I love the performance. I think I would still go with this long range dual motor. However, now that there's a choice, and I could, for less money, £3,000 less, I could actually get more range, there would be something very tempting about getting this particular car with a slightly better range. Now, let's just compare this for a second. Let's have a look here. Tesla Model 3. So if we have a look at the Tesla Model 3, I'm just going to pop onto the Tesla site. And so the Model 3, if I go order now, let's see what we get. So we get the standard range plus for 40,990. The long range is 48,490. So the long range version is actually quite a lot more expensive than this. 42,900 will get you there, the long range Polestar, but you've got to go a lot higher for the long range Model 3. Now, the point here is the long range Model 3 is more powerful and it has better range. So please don't complain. I'm not trying to compare. My point here is that you get more car for the money. However, the Polestar is cheaper. So it is, I think, now a very fair price because you're paying a lot less money for less performance and slightly less range. So it is now a more fair comparison. I can't criticize Polestar because that's what, £6,000 cheaper for less performance and less range. Fair enough. The standard range plus is 280 miles, and okay, that is better range and it is more performance than you will get with the standard range single motor version on the Polestar, but it is £1,000 more. Now when you go up to the performance, you're looking at 59.9, and okay, it's 0 to 60 in 3.1 seconds, so it's quick. But if you spec out the long range dual motor, and let's add, well, basically all of these packs, let's add this one, if my internet will keep up. So we're adding this first £3,000 pack, and we will now add the plus, accept and continue, and we'll add the performance, and now we are down up to 57.9. So we're actually £2,000 cheaper than the Model 3 with every single pack added onto the dual motor long range version of the car. So I think this is really interesting. Now the Polestar isn't quite as quick in terms of performance, but and this has got some other features, but my point here is that's kind of, do you need that extra second in performance in the real world? Probably not. The range is better of the Model 3. So again, I'm not trying to say that the Polestar is better or the Tesla is worse. But what I'm trying to say here is that I think Polestar have done a really good job of looking at their pricing model and actually offering some options that are very, very competitive when you compare them against Tesla. You can't really say that, the Tesla is, say, better value for money or the Polestar is better value for money, because the differences between the cars now are quite small, and when you think that, say, the Tesla has better range or better performance, well, it is £2,000 more, so you have to pay a little bit more for that luxury. The only one really I think that is actually aligned very closely in terms of price is the single motor version. So if I go back to this, the standard range single motor with a 420 kilometer range is more affordable if you take all the packs off as well. Basically, the Tesla's only £1,000 more, and you get better performance and better range. So that one is perhaps slightly less of a good deal, I think, on the Polestar side. But the long-range single motor and the long-range dual motor, Polestar's pricing, I think, here is actually really good and compares very favorably with Tesla. So I think that's basically it, really, for this video. I'm hoping that this has been useful if you're considering buying a Polestar. I think these changes to their pricing policy is actually really exciting, and I'm pleased that they are now offering some choices for the customer to be able to choose which version they would like. And you can choose the standard range single motor version with all of the packs available. So if your preference is the panoramic sunroof, the tinted windows, and perhaps even this performance pack added onto the standard model, then actually, can you do that? No, you can't. So the performance you can't add to the standard model. So that's interesting to see. But let's get rid of that. But my point actually was not really about the performance, because that would be weird to add onto the standard model. But it was about the other two packs that you can add on. So you can get the heat pump and the nice glass roof with Harman Kardon on the single motor design if you want. Or you can add that onto the dual motor design if that suits you better. So full flexibility for the customer. So yeah, I really hope this video has been helpful in sort of going through some of the changes, and I'll be back again with another video very soon. Thank you.